If Saudi Arabia tells us normalization in exchange for a Palestinian state, then friends, no thanks. Keep riding camels on the sand in the desert of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, and ultimately, the apology wasn't late in coming, right? Clarification, apology, something in between, a healthy mix of both, right?
Right. Said it wasn't successful, Ellie, but of course...
The wording, not the content.
The wording, of course, the Saudis have to be respectful of the Jewish heritage and the Jewish connection to Judea and Samaria, as the finance minister said. But look, this, again, attests to the potency of what is said in the United States and of what is said in other parts of the world, and that these players in the Israeli political system are finding that they're not an island. And for Netanyahu, of course, a political win for him, both in the case of this and in the case of the push for the annexation vote in the Knesset, that Netanyahu is going to use this and leverage this to make the opposition look small and make himself look large, himself as a statesman, who's the one who is able to balance what Israel in principle wants, or what his base in principle wants, with Israel's needs diplomatically and geopolitically. So Netanyahu is going to find a way to take this lemon and to make it into lemonade. But
this lemon of the sovereignty push is already creating much waves, because we, just from the last few minutes, we see a joint condemnation of Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Qatar and Turkey and all the usual suspects, so to speak, condemning this attempt to promote Israeli sovereignty in the West Bank. We just heard Vice President Vance, Mr. Lapin. So it's more than just a weird, stupid political maneuver, as Vance dubbed it.
This is a red line that is coming from the Gulf states, the moderate Gulf states, and it's being echoed via the Trump administration, which has very close ties to these states. And, this is a red line that both the Americans and the powers in the Gulf have been basically telling Israel from day one that they will refuse to go along with. The reason is not because I think they particularly care, but because the legitimacy, the harm to their legitimacy would be too much for them to tolerate in the Arab world. And so I think, the UAE, the Saudis, and let's remember, the UAE came on board the normalization and the Abraham Accords because it was able to claim that it stopped the normalization. This was back in 2020. This was their justification.
Yeah, right.
And so this is the red line, and we've seen Israeli governments try and rub up against this line, see how far they can go without crossing it. They always end up hearing the same message. It can't be tolerated, et cetera, et cetera. And now we see coalition tensions within the Israeli government. At the end of the day, the message from the White House could not be clearer. There's not going to be any annexation of Judea and Samaria, of the West Bank. This is going to upset the whole fabric of the complex web of interests here that starts in Riyadh and goes through to the UAE and then extends through Washington. Strategic interests, business interests, legitimacy. There's just too much apparently at stake, and so the message is being sent. And I'm pretty sure that Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to comply with this because he himself wants to continue to cooperate with these multiple interests. 2 points to amplify what Yaakov's saying. First of all, Donald Trump, in his interview with Time magazine that was released over the last few hours, but has to be emphasized, was done on October 15th. So last week, was done 8 days ago, but Donald Trump was asked
still
about
relevant.
this. Of course, still relevant, but it was not a direct response to this vote. It predated this vote by a week, but Trump said, I promised the Arab states that this would not happen, and all of Israel's support from the United States would be in danger if this were to happen. Of course, the Prime Minister's office, after that interview and after the pushback from the United States, puts out a statement in English talking about how this isn't going to happen. And as I was saying earlier, uses that statement to try to make both the opposition and Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir look small and try to make Netanyahu look large as a statesman, again, as Israel heads into this election year.
Well,